Let's go NL West. We were talking, we're going to do a division a day. Of course, you've got opening day coming up in Major League Baseball. When you talk about the NL West, you think the Dodgers and the dominance. They've won at least 106. They're each last, 3 full seasons. They won 111 last year, fellas. But I want to start with the Padres here. Now, the Padres, the Dodgers are your slight favorite in division, NL West at 110. The Padres plus 120, and for good reason. And we'll start with you, Amal. It's a mid-market team that's willing to spend. They extended Darvish, extended Machado, Musgrove as well, added Bogarts. That's a talking point here, which we should get to. But it's a team that very much wants to win now. Remember, they traded for Soto last year. He could potentially be an MVP candidate. Also added a vet and Nelson Cruz. 89 wins last year. Beat the Mets in the wild card. Beat the Dodgers in the NLDS. Lost to the Phillies in 5 in the NLCS. But again, a mid-market team, Padres, give them props, that's willing to spend.
Yeah, I would agree with you, but I'm not completely on board with the mid-market size nature of San Diego. There's no more professional teams here. The Chargers have left. The Clippers left back in the 80s to go back to Los Angeles. Look, they should be spending money. They're the only show in town. It's a beautiful ballpark downtown. They're in the Gaslamp District, a great place to go see a team. Here's my problem with this team. They've got a plethora of pitching, but I think they've got a bunch of 2s and 3s and 4s. I don't think they've got a true number 1. I like Musgrove a lot. He's a hometown kid, signs a big-time deal. Let's see how he performs off of that deal. Blake Snell, can he return to the form he had in Tampa? I like Nick Martinez a little bit. I'm not sure about Walker. And then I haven't mentioned the guy that, to me, is so vastly overrated, I can't take it anymore. You can't Darvish. I mean, this guy, we saw it last night in the WBC, comes in, no problem, boom, home run. There's a reason why Darvish doesn't come in clutch situations, can't deliver. Game 7 against the Astros, had an opportunity to become a legend for the Dodgers, didn't deliver on it. I think the talent is there. I like Manny Machado to be a potential MVP this year. He's not a bad bet. I think he's that good of a player. The talent is there. This team is really good. They should be able to win this division if the Dodgers don't get the pitching they've had the last few years.
I snickered, big guy. We'll go to Dustin with his take on the Padres. I snickered, didn't all out laugh on you can't Darvish. What's your take on the joke there?
It's a solid joke. What bothers me most of all is that, I don't disagree with a lot of what Amal said, and that really annoys me about this Padre team. With that said, though, it's still the Dodgers division because I think this front office is good at making moves, and the Padres are good at adding names, but I don't know if they have the plan from up top on how to approach the game day in and day out like the Dodgers do, who are so ahead of the game analytically. I'm concerned about that. This roster player for player is better, but I don't know if they can overtake LA here.
Patrick, I've got to respond immediately here. Listen, everybody sits there and tells me how great the Dodgers are. They've got one World Series to show for their greatness. That analytics is driving that program into the ground, okay? Stop with the damn analytics.
No, Friedman is the best in baseball. He's their president at winning now and building for the future. What he does, he is a maestro at continuing to build the farm system while continuing to win now. But let's get to the Dodgers and let's talk about them. 111 wins last year, Amal Shaw. A weird offseason where they're taking a step back and they're kind of resetting the books a little bit here. They've moved on from their core. Trey Turner's gone. Justin Turner's gone, who was the leader of that team. Cody Bellinger is gone. Tyler Anderson. Haney's gone. They bring in Syndergaard, of course, still Kershaw, Urias, Freeman, Betts. We know the studs, but it's a team that won 111 last year. Can Max Muncy come back? That elbow barked on him last year, didn't return to form. They traded for Miguel Rios at short. That's not the answer. We understand. Rojas at short's not the answer. It's a team that is in flux, is the best way to put it. And I use in flux because Gavin Lux, who was the incumbent at shortstop for the Dodgers, out for the full season with an ACL. That's a big issue because remember, he was blocked by Seager, then blocked by Turner, and that's a huge loss Gavin Lux done for the Dodgers.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. And their one World Series title since 1988 came when they played at a neutral site in Texas. Look, I get your point on the Dodgers and the moves that they've made. Bringing in J.D. Martinez at 36 years old, hit 16 bombs. I think he drove in about 74 last year. I don't know what kind of production you get out of him. Jason Hayward, what does he add to you? Great defensive outfielder if I need him in the 8th or 9th inning. Trace Thompson's been inconsistent. You lose Trey Turner. That guy should be the front runner among Manny Machado, potentially Mookie Betts as well, and Freddie Freeman. You do have 2 out of 4 MVP candidates that I just mentioned on your team. But it's these other pieces you mentioned. Justin Turner is a clubhouse guy, a leader. He was a cornerstone at third base. Chris Taylor, you don't know what day and what position he's going to play. The pitching, Walker Buehler's going to be out. Clayton Kershaw's 35 years old. Can Tony Gonsolin deliver when the chips are down? Are they ever actually going to let Julio Urias pitch more than 5 innings?
As Adam Burke mentioned in the guide, they've won at least 106 last 3 seasons, last 3 full seasons. The Dodgers win total is set at 95.5. The Padres, 93.5. We'll get the big guys' take on the Dodgers. We've got the Giants, D-backs, and Rockies to come. Special shout to the betting guide again, Adam Burke, Steve Mackin, and the crew. Pick it up. Extensive research done on every team, every division, every future you could possibly want. Before we move on, Dustin wants to talk about the Dodgers. We'll get to the Giants, the D-backs, and maybe just skip the Rockies altogether. Before we move on, quickly, Padres 93.5. That last year was an 89-win team. Amal, you going over the 93.5 with the Padres? I am, yes. I'll just put that out there.
And I agree with you. You got Juan Soto for an additional 100-plus games. You've got Xander Bogaerts out the middle. I love Xander. I just wouldn't have signed him to an 11-year contract, but I love what he brings to the table. Kim defensively is outstanding. You know, this is a dangerous team. Think about it. Machado, Juan Soto, Xander Bogaerts. We saw it in Boston with Devers, Martinez, and with Xander there. So I think this could be a dynamic lineup.
Big guy, simple yes, no. Padres 93.5. Over?
Over.
Okay, now the Dodgers 95.5. They won that division by like 22 games last year. They won 111 games. Again, weird offseason, Dustin. You know, I like this team because we got to know Andrew Friedman, the president. We interviewed him a million times. He's a great guy, very bright. 111 wins. Their win total set at 95.5. First-year take on the Dodgers.
Well, more on Amal's take. He's diminishing the fact that they won 1 World Series in the shortened 2020 season with, no fans around. But they've won 9 of 10 NL West titles. And if they're not going to win it, what leads you to have hope that the Padres can close the deal when they've literally never won anything?
I'm not saying that they're going to necessarily close the deal, but their talent has never been where it's been before. And as Marv, as who was the guy in New York, could say, hello, you play to win the game, Herm. I mean, look, the goal here is to win a World Series. There's only 8 teams that compete with the Dodgers for free agents. The Red Sox, the Yankees, the Mets, maybe the Giants and the Rangers in certain years. There's not even enough teams to compete with them financially. They should be dominant.
You can't win the World Series if you don't make the playoffs, and the Dodgers do it every year.
Okay.
And how many times do they get there and win it?
Lux is a huge loss. Let's be fair. He was the future at shortstop, blocked by Turner, blocked by Seager previously. Muncy needs to return to form. One thing is for sure when talking about the Dodgers, going to look completely different. Amal, you laid it out earlier. Trey Turner now a Philly. Justin Turner has moved on. Cody Bellinger, an MVP, has completely fallen off. He's moved on. So it's going to be a different look here, big guy.
Yeah, I think Justin Turner is going to be a guy they missed, not from a statistical standpoint, but so much of the tide turned for this franchise when he became an everyday piece of their lineup. And I think they are going to miss his stability that he brought into that clubhouse. I know we can't quantify that with analytics, but I think Justin Turner is a guy that they're absolutely going to miss from a leadership perspective, from a guy that had been there for a long time and kind of was a leader for that clubhouse. They're not going to miss Cody Bellinger. Cody Bellinger has been Cody Bellinger.
You and I, just to interrupt, you and I went on that trifling trip to Arizona to cover Cactus League. And it was the worst work trip of my life. No offense to you, big guy. I loved hanging out with you. But we had to go early one morning to Dodgers camp. And when Turner stepped on the field, he was the sun and the Dodgers orbited around him. He was the leader. It wasn't Kershaw. It was Justin Turner. I don't think that surprises you, Amal.
No, it doesn't. I hated agreeing with the big guy, but he's absolutely right. To me, what he brings to the clubhouse, his leadership, his experience, I don't think it can be taken for granted. You mentioned the loss of Bellinger. Look, Bellinger hasn't been great since that shoulder injury in the postseason where him and Jock Peterson kind of gave each other 5, but, they kind of do it with their shoulders or what have you. He has not been the same player. I'm not as concerned. Now, defensively, it could be a bit of a liability because he was a plus center fielder. But from an offensive standpoint, he was batting like 209. But I'm with you on the Turner thing. I think it's so vitally important. Having been around baseball for a long time, there are guys that are needed over the course of 6 months that have a stabilizing force on a locker room that's so important. And I thought Justin Turner was exactly that for the Dodgers.
I just need an over-under because I want to get to the D-backs. Do they win 96 or more? It's 95.5 for the Dodgers. Shaw, over-under.
I'm going to go no under.
Okay, Dustin, over-under.
Bullpen's worse. Lineup's worse. I think the rotation's underrated. Because of the front office, I'm actually going to go over.
I'm a sucker. I'll go over because of that front office as well. Let's go to the D-backs. A 22-win improvement last year. 21 was a disaster for the Diamondbacks. But I joked about it. It's probably a 75-win team, but I'm going to watch them every night. This is such an exciting young team with a great farm system. Corbin Carroll, Gabriel Moreno, Alec Thomas. Zach Gallen was great last year. Merrill Kelly popped last year. They still have 2 more years of that Bumgarner contract, and he's toast. But this is the youth movement in full effect. A good manager. The Diamondbacks are exciting. Now, they're 45-1 in division. They're not going to win it. They're probably a 75-win team. You take a look at the win total. It's set at 75.5, so I was close in my notes here. But the D-backs, exciting, Shaw.
Yeah, absolutely right. Let's start with Zach Gallen, who was tremendous, pretty much as good as any pitcher in baseball the last half of the season. He was outstanding. I like Merrill Kelly. Mad Bum, what do you get out of him is the big question mark. So the question for me is the starting pitching behind 1 and 2 here. Melanson, we'll see how effective he can be. I love the fact they're going to get a healthy Nick Ahmed. Nick Ahmed, I mean, this guy has so much range defensively. I love what he can bring. Not a great offensive player, but you mentioned Ketel Marte. I think he is criminally underrated ahead of how good he is. He's a table setter. The question is, can they get consistency out of Gurriel in left field? And then, of course, it comes down to in center field between Thomas and McCarthy, who's going to be the starter there. But I like this team. I think they're going to be competitive. They're going to be interesting. I'm glad that you're a fan of this team. The problem is nobody in Maricopa County is.
Big guy, your take. Again, Moreno, the catcher, Carson Kelly's injury is going to put him in the spotlight here.
Big prospect. I mean, they traded Dalton Varsho for him. Varsho hit 27 bombs last year, was a key part of the middle of that order for a couple seasons. So they're expecting big things from Moreno. One bet with this franchise that I think is worth looking at is Christian Walker to lead the league in home runs. I think it's like 175-1 at some books. I had him 80-1 to lead the league in home runs, and I think he finished in the top 10 a year ago. He has absolute legit power from the right side. Love him as an option there. And as you alluded to, Patrick, this is like we call it a league pass in the NBA, like the team you would get league pass for and watch every night. They may not go over their win total. But I will say this. There's always one team in baseball that's too young and too dumb to know any better and starts winning at a high rate. Probably a year or two early for Arizona to be that team. But they're going to be a lot of fun to watch them develop and come together. They got speed with McCarthy. They've got a 5-tool guy in center with Carroll. I think you bring in Longoria for leadership. And I'm a big Ketel Marte guy at second base. I think he does all the necessary little things like Amal said yesterday on the show in our what did we do yesterday? The NL or AL West.
AL West.
You can go back, watch it. It's all on YouTube. Called Colton Wong a winning baseball player. I believe Ketel Marte is a winning baseball player despite not being on very many winning teams in his career.
I just need an answer because I got to move on, fellas. I need an answer. I wrote down 75. It's 75.5. I'll go under D-backs. Shaw.
I will go over.
Okay, Dustin.
I have to unfortunately go under even though I don't want to.
I'm going under the 81.5 for our next team, the Giants. This is a huge payroll and a very basic baseball team. I mean, you look what happened, a 26-win differential last year, 81-81. 21, they won 107 games. They're going to sell. Brandon Crawford's going to get sold. Peterson's going to get sold. I don't like this Giants team. I'll go to you, Amal.
I'm with you on the under on this team. I don't like them much either. You look at the pitching here, it leaves a lot to be desired. Logan Webb can be effective. Rodon goes on to the New York Yankees. He's already he's on the shelf for a couple of weeks, but I like this Giants team under the total.
I agree with you. Dustin?
I mean, you have to go under. I mean, I like a couple of the guys they added, but there's nothing special about this team. And why is Brandon Crawford still a thing? Because he won a few rings at 10 years ago.
He's going to get sold.
Move on. Do something else, man.
Alex Cobb, Alex Wood, Ross Stripling, no offense, good guy, Jacob Junis. This is not a pitching staff you want to back.
A lot of vanilla ice cream there.
The Rockies are set at 65.5. They're not the A's, but they're not that far. And what was it? Rogers, the second baseman, him being out is brutal for this team. I mean, this is a very bad baseball team. Their win total set at 65.5. We had the A's set at 60. I'm going to go under for the Rockies here. Love the manager, but go ahead, big guy.
I think Tovar, the shortstop's worth a flyer for NL Rookie of the Year, 11-1 at DraftKings. Really nice player. He's going to play every day with the opportunity to add some extra power playing in Coors Field all throughout the summer. Tovar, 11-1 NL Rookie of the Year, worth a couple bucks.
You mean to tell me you can't get fitted for World Series rings with Chris Bryant, Daza, and Randall Grichuk in the outfield? I'm thinking you just got to get size measurements right now.
What? And Rogers, the Gold Glove at second base, season-ending surgery. That's the Rockies in a nutshell. Plus, their home-away splits are brutal. It's hard to make up for. Okay, so again, we're all under 65.5 on the Rockies. Good stuff. NL West, remember, check out the guide, VSiN.com/subscribe.
Visit VSiN.com to get current odds, listen for free, find showtimes, and download VSiN sports betting podcasts.